Hello everyone, welcome back to A Walk to Work with Whittaker. So today I am talking about Chapter 1 of Flux, the Halloween Apocalypse. But I'll take the next 10 seconds to say why I haven't been uploading much recently, so skip ahead 10 seconds if you don't want to hear that. Basically, there's just been a fair bit going on in my personal life. Not particularly bad stuff, but just stuff that has been taking up a lot of time and mental energy, and most of it's had a really good result. So that's why I haven't been uploading so much. Hopefully I'll be uploading a bit more, but I'll certainly be doing these walk to work videos. Now, the Halloween Apocalypse. I've just watched it, had my shower, now I'm heading to the bus stop to go to work. And wow, I genuinely think it is Chris Chibnall's best season opener. And it had a lot to do. You know, it had to reintroduce these characters of the Doctor and Yaz. It had to give them a new relationship without Ryan and Graham around. It had to introduce Dan, and it had to introduce this season-long arc. It had to introduce Vinder as well. So there is a lot that has to be done, and I think it does it really, really well. You know I enjoy this era a lot more than a lot of people, but I have my reservations. You know, a series shot in lockdown, and reduced episode count, single story arc over the 6 episodes, how would it go down? And I think this is a really strong start. So let's take all these elements. We've got the new relationship between the Doctor and Yaz, and it has given me 2 things that I've been starved of these last 2 seasons, and that is Yaz with a real sort of attitude and outlook onto the world. You know, lots of the publicity that was written around Yaz was to do with the fact that she, you know, she's very forthright and she gets stuff done and what have you, and I don't think we've always seen that on screen. But here, right from that first wonderful escape scene at the beginning, you get the impression that that is who this person is. And I think it's a really smart retooling of the character, and man, it rises to the occasion. The other thing that I like so much is the Doctor now is slightly pricklier than she was before. I've been wanting that. Jodie's shown it in dribs and drabs over her first 2 series, and yeah, it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. I think we'll get more of it as we go along. And yeah, I just really loved that first scene as well. The other thing it addresses is it is a scene that shows the Doctor in control, being clever, being slightly devious towards Carvinista, but also being slightly fallible. And for it to still tie into the main plot, that she's been after Carvinista for a while, I think it's really, really well done. Then we meet Dan, who is really charmingly played by John Bishop, and I think we like him immediately. We see that he's someone who's passionate about Liverpool to the point that he's hijacking museum tours, and you know, we also get that hint of romance with Diane, which was a really lovely scene. It's nothing we haven't seen before. Crossing a road, using a zebra crossing, checking both ways, and away we go. You know, we've absolutely seen this kind of scene before, the sort of meet cute, oh no, it's not really a date sort of thing. But there's still something nice about it. And, you know, in proper Doctor Who tradition, of course, it's like, oh, what a nice pair of kids, I sure hope nothing bad happens to them. Thin footpath, just letting someone pass. And of course, you know, something bad's going to happen to them. Dan then goes home, and he's confronted by Carvinista. Now, I'd already seen pictures of Carvinista, but I love the makeup job of the dog. I think some people are going to think that, you know, it's a bit rough. No pun intended. It's a bit rough, it's a bit tatty, but there's sort of the air of a terrier or a schnauzer, and if you kind of look at the hair around their face, it can get a bit rough and a bit tatty, and it moves, most of the time it moves pretty well with the actor's mouth as well, Craig Ells. Little laneway, but always check. Got someone else passing here, so I'll just step into the gutter for a moment. Ah no, they're going into a gate. Yeah, so that sort of sets up our main characters for this. Vinda is off in Observation Station Rose. And look, Doctor Who doesn't tend to reuse names without a good reason. I'm not saying it's definitely related to Rose, but it's interesting. It's too early to say one way or the other. Now, as for the plot itself, it does jump around a bit, but I think you can do that when you've got this big, long story arc happening. I think that's fine. And the little bits we're seeing are intriguing me. I'm not getting annoyed that we're jumping around to these places. And we, of course, meet Swarm. And it appears that Swarm is an individual, which is an interesting concept. And when we meet Swarm, he is being held prisoner by the Division. Now, it's really weird, right? Some people online, with various elements of Christian Doctor Who, have been saying, oh, well, you know, I've heard from my sources in Cardiff that that's been dropped. I remember being told in no uncertain terms, before Series 12, in the comments of my Ghost Monument review, oh, no, we're never revisiting the Timeless Child again. It's not being revisited because it wasn't popular. It's like, well, we don't know anything about it yet. And similarly, in the lead up to this, I've seen people online saying, no, they're not going to touch on the Division again. We're not going to hear about the Division again. It's a failure. And it's like, well, here they are. And the thing is, they beam in, and the first thing I noticed was the rifle. You know, it's the same rifle that the Ruth Doctor had, or rather Gat had, and the Ruth Doctor reprogrammed, etc. And, you know, it automatically links back to it, and it starts making the Chibnall Doctor Who universe feel bigger like the Russell T Davies universe did. You know what I mean? And it's adding intrigue. It also highlights the effectiveness of how they've managed to make Doctor Who in this way. Like, you look at the scenes in this episode, and most of them don't have more than 3 people. A lot of them only have 2 people. But it's still really, really well done. It doesn't feel like an empty world, to me anyway. And, you know, we get little flashes of Sontarans, and that couple in the Arctic Circle, one of whom is of the same race as Swarm. I mean, maybe they're the Ravagers that Chris Chibnall's been talking about. Or rather, Jodie talks about in the trailer. And then we get Sontarans. And again, like, a lot of fans online are like, oh good, the Sontarans will be serious again. Stephen Moffat joked with them. They'll be serious. And it's like, the Sontarans were never that serious in the classic series, you know what I mean? They always had a comedic element, and I love the comedic element here being that his subordinate has clearly been off on a mission. It sounds like an espionage mission. So he's lived a long time for a Sontaran, and he looks old and terrible. And Sontarans are blunt, and they'll just tell you that. And I'm pretty sure the Sontaran in the hologram is Dan Starkey, who's our regular Sontaran actor. People were worried because he's not playing the lead Sontaran that he wouldn't be there, but he is still there. And if it's not him, it's someone doing his voice of Kevin Lindsay version of a Sontaran. Anyway, basically I was in such a rush to get to the bus this morning because I was running a little bit late that I forgot to mention loads of stuff about this episode. So I'm popping out to get my lunch at work now, and I thought I would recap what I forgot. So first of all, I want to mention Claire. So Claire is the woman who sees the Doctor and Yaz and has met them, but they haven't met her yet. And then she meets a nasty fate at the hands of a weeping angel. And I just found that so effective. Now, in any other Doctor Who story, that would be the beginning of the mystery of the story. But the Doctor and Yaz have other stuff to do. They have to track down Carvinista, and so they just have to kind of let her go, you know what I mean? And from the perspective of the Doctor, of course, if the Doctor hasn't met her yet, no good can come of this conversation, you know? So I thought that was a really effective moment, and there is a touch of melancholy there, I think, from Jodie and Mandip, that they can't investigate this, especially on Yaz's face when she tells Claire to take care of herself, almost as if saying, wow, you know, if you know us, you must have been through something. I just found that really, really intriguing. It's obviously building up for a later episode. She does get taken by the Weeping Angel, and that could have just been as soon as she leaves the Doctor and Yaz, she gets tapped by the Weeping Angel. But instead, they build it up. And something I found in this episode is there is a real attempt to re-establish the conventions of the show. We re-establish the Weeping Angels. Claire actually says, "Don't blink, I mustn't blink." And for a jaded long-term fan, I could easily go, "Oh God, we all know that." But every season of Doctor Who needs to cater to new viewers, and it's a great way to reintroduce the Weeping Angels, and it makes them scary, which is what you need them to be. Now, on that as well, I didn't talk too much about Carvinista, and I love the idea that there's a race of dog aliens who, as the Doctor points out, are humans' best friends. They're coming to rescue the whole of humanity. But yeah, it's an obligation, it's not something they're doing out of love, and it just makes me think of if you've got a dog, when you ask them to do a trick, they always do, but they're grumpy, they don't want to do it today. And you can't fathom why. And here we have Carvinista, who is kind of like, yeah, I have to do this. Doesn't mean I have to enjoy it. Doesn't mean I have to be nice about it. It's a really sweet touch. And it's like, 7 billion ships. I immediately went, that's the population of Earth. Why do they need one each? And they need one each because they're each rescuing one person. Although there's room for more than one person on Carvinista's ship. But, maybe it's a thing. It's a thing. And yeah, then of course Swarm finds his sister, which I didn't mention. And what was interesting to me in that scene is the sister and her boyfriend or husband, when they have the glowing bleepy thing in their garage, her husband says this is only used in the gravest of emergencies. And that is a line from the Three Doctors to explain how there is more than one Doctor here at each time. Now, I've already done a theory video saying someone was the Doctor when they weren't. I'm not saying either of these people are the Doctor, but I am wondering if it's something to do with Time Lords, especially seeing as we've mentioned the Division again. And of course we find out that Carvinista worked for the Division. And this is something else that's new, based on Series 12, you could believe that the Division was just a Time Lord organisation, but apparently it involved other species as well, which is very un-Time Lord to work with other species. So, yeah, we have a bunch of mysteries there. And there was another piece of dialogue that I'm like, oh, that references something that's happened before. There was, the Doctor saying, "Nice to meet you, Dan, run for your life," which is what the Doctor says to Rose. And it's one of those occasions where I actually don't mind it being lifted from the past. There's a mention of Nitro 9, which Sophie Aldred has said on social media that she loved hearing, and look, I loved hearing it as well. And also the Doctor going around using Ace's Nitro 9, that's interesting, because she's desperate to find out about the Division, it's setting up to be a nice little mystery. And the annoying thing is, right here, right now, there was another line that's on the tip of my brain that I'm like, hold on, that was used somewhere before, and that could be significant, and I can't remember what it is right now, unfortunately. So, may have to mention that next week, or if it becomes important, or on my social media, at BrandyBongos on Twitter. But yeah, I just had to mention these other elements, because I feel they are important. They've also intrigued me. I'm wondering what is going on, and I just thought the Division were like a revised or earlier version of the CIA, the Celestial Intervention Agency, but they seem to be their own thing entirely, and they involve non-Time Lords, non-Gallifreyans, and that in itself is incredibly interesting as well. Next week, of course, we will get more Sontarans. We've got basically the return of the next episode caption, which we used to get in the 60s, telling you what the title of the next story is. That made my heart leap a little. But yeah, generally, I think this is a really strong start. The cliffhanger was amazing, and I love the shenanigans with the TARDIS going a bit wrong as well. You know, and there's doors everywhere, there's clearly something wrong, the Doctor is hiding stuff, and Yaz is actually calling her out on it, and I really, really enjoy that. And the effectiveness of that cliffhanger, you know, showing everyone in peril. Chris Chibnall has said that this episode, he wanted the energy of a big finale, but to start the first episode, and it brings to mind the Stolen Earth, when we, you know, cut around to everyone and everyone's at a cliffhanger and everyone's in peril. And of course you cut to the Sontarans and they're just laughing because they want to fight, they want to fight the Flux. I can just imagine that, you know. Let's get the, what was it, the acid monkeys and compression mines in there to fight the Flux. Look, I'm excited. This is an 8 out of 10 for me. There's still some clunky Chibnall-esque dialogue, but even that has been polished, in my opinion. And this is a really strong start to the season. But I've got to go grab my bus. I'd be very interested to hear what you think down in the comments. Until I see you next time, whether it's in a walk to work with Whittaker or I get another video out this week, thank you all so much for watching. Do keep yourselves safe, and keep watching Doctor Who. I'm excited for War of the Sontarans. Bye.